The Beyond the Fame podcast is fed by Lido Pizza. Lido Pizza never cuts corners. For menu and locations, visit LidoPizza.com. This month's programming is sponsored by Wolf Trap. Paul Simon, Hart, the Goo Goo Dolls, and many more are coming to Wolf Trap this summer. Tickets for over 50 summer concerts are on sale this Friday, February 28th at 10 a.m. at wolftrap.org. And of course, this podcast would not be possible without our longtime sponsor, the Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia. Upcoming entertainment includes I Mom So Hard on March 22nd. Must be 21 to enter the casino floor and attend a show. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Dropkick Murphys rocked the anthem in Washington, D.C. this Thursday as their annual St. Patrick's Day tour makes its way to Boston. I spoke with lead guitarist Tim Brennan about the band's Celtic rock tunes, from their smash hit I'm Shipping Up to Boston to their new single Sirens. Hey, Tim Brennan, hey, thanks so much for joining the show today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
We are talking to the lead guitarist and a bunch of other instruments for Dropkick Murphys, which are coming to the Anthem here in Washington, D.C. on February 27th. Now, this is your annual St. Patrick's Day tour in, I think, like 14 different cities, building, all culminating with your hometown of Boston on St. Patty's Day, the big live stream event every year, so we can kind of come see these shows in our cities and then tune in again live for the big party.
That's right.
Are we basically like the equivalent of what, I don't want to say it's a warm up because it's gonna be a good show every time, but we're like the pre-gaming, throwing back shots before the big rager in your hometown, right?
Yeah, we're gonna put very little effort into every show other than the one at home. Total warm up.
Yeah, we'll go through the motions.
Yep. Going through the motions. We don't care in the slightest. No, at DC specifically, like the anthem, we love playing the anthem so much. And when we get to do the anthem on this run up to St. Patrick's Day, it's always one of the best shows, hands down.
Absolutely, it's a great spot, and of course, the anthem's right there on the water, there on the wharf. So yep. It'll kind of be like a Boston Tea Party on the water. We might throw some stuff in the water, and
exactly.
Maybe even, depending how things go, might have to overthrow another king like they did. I don't know.
Maybe.
But anyway, yep. You are the band that did This Machine Still Kills Fascists, but we won't tangent too much into that. But I did. That is an interesting segue. I did want to ask about your new single, Sirens. And the lyrics actually go, quote, "The billionaire profits while the worker bleeds. 1% of the wealth hoards from millions in need. We're fighting for the scraps. We struggle and suffer. We're falling for the trap. We're turning on each other." Man, that's pretty powerful coming to DC right now.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that's fairly self-explanatory. I mean, I think so many people have experienced that sentiment throughout the last couple of years. And so, yeah, it's a tough time to be, I don't know. it's a tough time to be living around America,
Well, we need, especially as you're coming to DC, we need a band like you all that are, a bunch of Boston boys fighting for the working man. And you've always been sort of like the blue collar union vibe.
Yes,
you've always been that. So we need some regular folks fighting for the 99%.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, so I want to, in addition to this show, I want to paint some of the highlights of the band over the year. I know they were formed like near Boston suburbs in '96, right. And before you had even joined, they did like 4 albums: Do or Die, Gangs All Here.
Like Do or Die, Gangs All Here, Sing Loud, and then I joined for the Blackout tour. So yeah,
right. So remind folks of when you joined. It was at the Warped Tour, I think, in 2003. So you were invited on stage to play, like unofficially play, like a couple accordion songs, and then you left to go to college, and then they invited you right back. Or remind them that story.
So I went out on the road. They were going on the Warped Tour in 2003. I got asked to come out and do merch, and then they knew that I could play all sorts of weird Irish instruments. So I would do merch all day. And then when the band would play, I would run over to the stage and play like a song or two. And then, so I did that for, 3 months or so. And at the end of that, the summer was over and I was going to go back to college. And went back, and then I was there for probably like a month. And then Ken called and asked if I wanted to join the band full time, and so that was that. But yeah, all started on that Warped Tour.
That's awesome. So you were there for a little bit of the blackout touring stuff, but then like I
Yeah,
guess your
yeah.
first big album that you released as part of the band was the most iconic. Probably it was the Warriors Code in
Warriors
'05
Code,
because it
yeah.
had the double platinum hit. I'm shipping up to Boston. Obviously it's the most iconic song. That's your rock and roll all night. Like like every interviewer asks you about it. Every crowd wants to hear it. So how do you keep that thing high energy? Or maybe I should ask, what's like the craziest thing that happened during a performance of that song? What's an
Um,
interesting way we can talk about that song that you
yeah,
haven't?
I mean it's nice because the song itself is about 2.5 minutes long,
Okay.
so it's over as quickly as it begins. So luckily it's not long enough for us to get sick of it. Uh, um, but that it is something else. It's funny when you've been going through the whole set. We'll play for like 90 minutes or so, and you go through the whole set, and people will be going nuts the whole time, and then we start shipping, and like a whole other level of nuts happens.
It goes all the way up to 11.
Yeah, yeah. um and so I have to not take it personally that they've been saving that energy the whole time,
Like, where
just
was this
until,
earlier?
yeah, exactly, yeah, where was this when we just played you a new song you've never heard? uh but no, it's always great. As far as the craziest thing that's happening, that's a good question. We used to do these stage invasions all the time, where at the end of the show, like, we would invite everybody up on stage, um, and that would go south every once in a while. but, uh, but for the most part, it was everything's always cool.
I love
Um, I did actually, at the end of shipping a handful of years ago, and there's actually, we put out a single in, I guess it would be 2020, called "Smash Shit Up," where the cover of the single, if you look at it, it's like a bunch of film strips of me smashing an accordion to a million pieces, and that was
Nice.
actually at the Anthem in
Really?
DC. Yeah, yeah.
So it must have just opened because I was there when the Foo
It had
Fighters opened
just
that thing.
opened.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah.
had just opened. Yeah, and I think maybe I had just gotten a new accordion, and the old one was a little bit on the fritz or something, and so I decided to put it out of its misery.
So you smashed it and that became an actual image you used.
Yes, so yeah, the
That's
cover of the
awesome.
single "Smash It Up" is like a bunch of film strips of me smashing the accordion on stage at the Anthem. Yeah,
I love it. And how simple. Well, there's your DC anthem tie-in, but also the film strip is the perfect because that song got huge because of Martin
that's
Scorsese's The
true. Yeah,
Departed.
that the
Yeah.
the shipping did. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, The Departed. Yeah. So obviously that movie took the song to a whole other level. And gosh, Leo DiCaprio and Matt Damon and Wahlberg and who's Marky Mark Boston also, Jack Nicholson, like such a great cast. Famously won Scorsese his makeup Oscar after he probably should have won like 4 or 5 times leading up to
Right.
that, right? But
Yeah.
Departed's still a great movie, but doesn't make your Scorsese Mount Rushmore because I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, Goodfellas, there but that fourth slot, what's it for you?
that's a good question. It's tough because obviously that's a Scorsese movie. We have nothing to do with it, but like tangentially, we have. I think
Yeah.
because we're involved, it's harder for me to like rank it up
Yeah.
amongst like Goodfellas and Casino and stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, me and our tour manager Evan, who just also happens to be one of my best friends, we're talking about it recently. We were just over in Europe for a month, and I think he watched it on the way over on the plane, and he was telling me about how it's kind of like the first sort of subjective watch that he's had of it, and he was like, "That's a good movie, man." He's like, "What heck, whether you guys are involved or not, that's a great movie."
Yeah,
And
you need
it's true, it
sometimes you
is.
need some time and some distance before you
Oh,
can
absolutely,
look at it
absolutely.
again, fresh. Well, of course it was a remake of what Infernal Affairs. But yeah,
Oh,
now
right,
it's
yeah,
been
yeah.
gosh, almost hard to believe next year will be 20 years since The Departed came out. That blows
I
my
mean, I
mind.
remember sitting in the theater and thinking to myself, they've put "Shipping Up to Boston" too loud in this.
Not
Um,
possible.
Yeah, but that's just because
Yeah.
we're all incredibly self-conscious
Yeah.
New Englanders, you know.
That's hilarious. All right.
Yeah,
Well, we don't have time to get into all your albums, but at least I
fair
want
enough.
to list some. I mean, The Meanest of Times comes after that, but I want to remind our listeners after that, you guys are like huge, of course. So I think there was like four consecutive albums in the Billboard Top 10 albums: Going Out in Style, Signed, Sealed in Blood,
That's
11
right.
Short
Yeah.
Stories of Pain and Glory, and Turn Up That Dial. You guys are playing Coachella. You playing live at Fenway Park and recording it live. Like this is the heyday. So everyone check out all those albums. But
Yeah.
before we run, because I know we're tight on time, I wanted to get to some listener questions submitted, if you don't mind. We have
Okay.
Laura Hughes of Frederick, Maryland, wanted to know, was there a specific moment that inspired the song Kiss Me, I'm Shit-Faced?
Um, no, I don't think there was a specific moment uh, that inspired that. I think that was probably inspired by, just looking out into the sea of people on a bunch of St. Patrick's days, and I mean, I think it just sort of you could find that guy that song is about in the crowd each night when we're doing the things.
Awesome.
So
She
no,
also,
nothing specific, I don't
all right.
think.
She also said the song Rose Tattoo is one of her favorites, but when she gets to the chorus, she says it's a tongue twister. Do you agree? Singing it out loud is hard to keep the lyrics together.
That's funny. We've talked about that before. We are a very wordy band. So yeah, she's right. We do suffer from wordiness sometimes. That's true.
Awesome. All right, maybe one more listener question. John Perkins, he said he saw you at the 930 Club in DC. Obviously, was the sister venue of before they built the anthem, so there's the tie-in.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
he said that during your song Blood, one of the band members, I don't know if it was you or not, but one of them puked, and then he was amazed they just kept on playing like they didn't miss a beat, and he said
Sure.
the crowd was changing the words if you want blood, blood to if you want puke, puke. Do you
That's
remember
gross.
this?
Well, what's funny is, so there was a period in time where our other guitar player, James, did have this sort of, it was like, it wasn't even, I guess ultimately it was an anxiety based thing, but yeah. So there was a period of time where that would happen every once in a while. And God love him, just as you said, I mean, the person must be telling the truth because this is what would happen. Something would come over him and he would have to barf, but he would just keep playing. Uh, and luckily, he is well over that at this point. we
Yeah.
can we can laugh about it now.
Yeah, I'm sure the staff at 930 loved scrubbing that off.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Now at the anthem, you just run out and puke in the water there at the wharf.
Yep. Exactly.
All right. Well, thanks for those questions. Well, I want to, I guess, sort of as we wind down here to in the end of this, like I know during COVID, I remember doing a story on you guys launching that cool the streaming up from Boston
Right.
performance. I think it was viewed by like nearly 6 million, and I assume that's why you keep doing like even on this tour that started this whole live stream annual thing.
That did have something to do with it. Yes, you're absolutely right. And yeah, that was a crazy time when we were having to do all those live streams and everything. But yeah, that's sort of where the idea was born out of. Yeah.
I love it. And then sort of final seconds, I know after the post-pandemic sort of period, once we got over at least past sort of the height of that thing, you guys sort of changed it up a little bit. You returned with like an all acoustic album, the
Right.
aforementioned This Machine Still Kills Fascists, and then Okema Rising. Am I saying that right? In 2023?
Yeah. Okima. Yeah. Yeah.
Okima, where you took unpublished lyrics by Woody Guthrie, curated by his own daughter Nora Guthrie, and obviously the character in the new Bob Dylan movie. So Woody's sort of back in the zeitgeist. But what was the idea, inspiration behind those two albums to go acoustic and then go to like a folk hero like Woody Guthrie, show a different side of
Sure.
the Dropkick Murphys?
Yeah, well, we had never done anything like that before, obviously. Like we had toyed with acoustic things and done like acoustic versions of songs, but we had never done full on acoustic albums before. So that was something we wanted to try. Um, the Guthrie connection, shipping up to Boston is a Guthrie lyric. Um, and then the
Oh, really? I
song,
didn't know that.
yeah. So shipping up to Boston is and gonna be a blackout tonight are the first Guthrie things that we ever did.
Okay.
Um, and uh, and shipping just so happened to take off. And so both of those are Guthrie lyrics, and we knew we wanted to do something with that again at some point.
Awesome.
Um, and then the opportunity kind of presented itself when Al, our other singer, had to leave to take care of his mom and everything, And so it felt like kind of a good sort of tangential move, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we had a lot of fun doing those, and it was an honor to be able to work with those Guthrie lyrics. And the fact that Nora, his daughter, trusted us to
Yeah.
do anything like that is so amazing. And she was so supportive the whole time, and it was a real fun thing to do. Like I said, sort of tangentially like
Yeah.
that.
Well, to quote
Um,
your Guthrie, then it's going to be another blackout night
that's right.
at the
Yeah,
Anthem in DC when the Dropkick Murphys rock the Anthem on February 27th, and that makes sense because I guess the band was named after a Dr. John Dropkick Murphy, the alcohol detox
right.
facility.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah,
weave it all the way through the career.
that's
But
right.
again,
Yep. All
Tim
connected.
Brennan, guitarist for Dropkick. Thanks so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. We'll see you in DC. Boston
All
Tea
right.
Party
Take
time. Let's
care.
go, baby.
Have a good one.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time.